So since my last video was about my top 10 favourite books from last year, I thought I'd share a bit more just about how I got into reading, because I haven't always actually been a massive reader. I think a lot of people tend to think that you're either a reader or you're not, but I think it's really something that you can make a habit if you really want it to be. And hopefully, if you're looking to get more into reading, then hopefully my story will help you motivate you to get more into it. So as I said, I haven't always been into reading. Growing up as a kid, I really enjoyed reading comic books more than regular books. And I read comics like Tintin and Asterix and Obelix. And there was a handful of books that I really enjoyed as a kid, but for the most part it was more comic books. But looking back now, I can really see that I just really enjoyed the feeling of entering another world in my imagination. I think I was really lucky in that for the most part I grew up without the internet. I think I was maybe 14 or 15 when we first got internet. And so for the most part of my childhood I really had to come up with my own entertainment and use my own imagination rather than being fed entertainment through a screen. And for me as a kid, the part of the way I used my imagination definitely was through books. I still really remember reading the Narnia books and vividly imagining like the scenes and the characters and the places and what was happening, and it was just so much fun to enter a whole different world, completely separate to reality really. But as I grew older, my interest sort of shifted into other things, and I really forgot about books for a long time and for most of my teen years. I did read a handful of books through those years, but by the time I was around 17, I pretty much completely stopped reading books at all. And around then as well, I was forced to read some pretty horrible books in high school, as I'm sure a lot of us had to. And that kind of really helped put me off books as well, because I began to associate books with study, and I definitely didn't enjoy study at the time. So then it really wasn't until I was around 20 or 21 that I really started to read again, just for my own sake, that wasn't a part of study. And I think it was around this time that my love of books really started to pick up again. And I really started getting back into it. Although this time it wasn't so much about the imagination as it was the knowledge and understanding that I was gaining from books. Yeah, I remember some books in particular that just completely changed my entire worldview and just shifted massive paradigms for me. And I just remember thinking like, wow, this is crazy. Like I just read a single book and my entire worldview has shifted. And the more perspective changes I had through reading, the more I kind of craved it. It was just something that I wanted, because I could see how much I was learning and how much my mindset and my horizon was expanding through reading. And that's when I really started to just crave reading more and more and more. So I began to realize that reading was really a pathway to understanding the world so much better, and to learning so much faster than my own personal experience would allow. Because at the end of the day, a lot of books are like the distilled wisdom of decades, sometimes lifetimes of a person's experience put into a single book that you can read in a day. Books to me have kind of become shortcuts or cheat sheets to life in a way. If I want to learn about something or learn some new skill, then I'll just pick up a book or two on that topic and read it. And I've just learnt so much through reading, even compared to studying at university or studying at school. I really do think that I've learnt so much more practical knowledge just through reading than I have like studying at university. For example, I used to know pretty much nothing about investing, and I had no one in my life to really show me how to do it firsthand, because I didn't know anyone personally who was good at investing. However, through reading a whole bunch of books on investing, I've learned a bunch of different strategies and different methods to investing, and I've read books by some of the greatest investors in the world. And since then I've started implementing some of these strategies and methods into my own life, into my own finances. And the crazy thing is that over the course of my lifetime, this could make a huge difference to my financial life in that specific area. And it never would have happened if I'd never picked up a book. So the last couple of years I've been aiming to read about 50 books a year, which is around a bit less than a book a week. Last year I managed to hit around 40 books, and again this year I'm aiming for 50. I've been through about 11 so far, so I'm a little bit behind, but on track to get to 50 by the end of the year. And I still definitely mainly read books that help me learn and grow. But I've also started falling in love again with fiction and stories, and sort of reigniting my imagination and and sort of going back to that childhood experience of just entering a whole different world and being able to create it in your own imagination. And I think it's just so much fun, and it really just takes me back to my childhood. I've also been getting more into biographies. I've been loving biographies. And I think it's such a good way of gaining new perspectives and seeing the world from other people's eyes. And I think it helps you be more empathetic towards other people, which I think is really important. So that's been great. So I'd definitely say if you've never been much of a reader or you're wanting to get back into it, then definitely do it. It might be hard at first to sort of get into the habit of it, but once you find that one book that really hooks you in, you really enjoy, and that really resonates with you, you'll be just totally hooked, and you'll be constantly looking for that next book that will really hook you in like that. And I really bet that you'll thank yourself further down the track, whether it's like a few months or a few years, but you'll begin to see how your life has sort of slowly shifted in its trajectory, just because of the different ideas, different perspectives, different methods, different ways of doing life that you've learnt through reading books. Because really all it takes is one book. Like, some of the biggest changes in my life and in the way that I've thought have come from single books, just one book by one author. And then all the books I've read on top of that have just been extensions and expansions on that one idea. But definitely just one book can absolutely change your entire life. And so if you're interested in seeing what other types of books that I like to read, feel free to check out my Goodreads profile. I've got a link down in the description to it. So if you've never used Goodreads before, then I highly recommend it, especially if you're trying to get back into reading. I kind of describe it as the IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes of books. And it's just a great way of keeping yourself accountable with how many books you're reading, as well as discovering new books to read, and connecting with other people who might be interested in the same sorts of books that you are. One really cool thing about Goodreads is that as you enter and mark books as read as you go throughout the year, it gives you like detailed statistics on the types of books you're reading, the years that they were published, like the number of pages that you've read throughout the year, the most popular books you read for the year. It's just really interesting to read and to look up. Other than that, please feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you in the next video.